Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Nonstop Talking with your girl here, Vivian Liu. Today I will be discussing my most disappointing and worst TV shows and movies I saw in 2020. Before I start that countdown, I just want to quickly list out the shows I decided to drop. There are 5 of them, I believe. The first one is 新生请指教. There's no English title for this, or well, I just couldn't find it. Number 2 is 了不起的长城, The Great Wall. Number 3 is 明日之子, The Coming One. This is the first season. And number 4, The Good Doctor Season 3, and 5, SWAT Season 1. So those are the 5 shows that I decided to not continue on with in 2020. I think there might be more, but I'm not sure because I usually don't jot those down. Due to COVID and stay-at-home orders, I watched a ton of crap in 2020. There'd be times where I'm watching something and I know it's bad, or I know that it's not for me, but because of the times, I just kind of push through and just sit through all that terribleness. So it was kind of difficult for me this year to really truly narrow down this list. The top 3 I'm pretty certain about because of the fact that I hated them. And I know you're gonna say hate's a strong word, Vivian, and I know, but I think it's appropriate for this situation. Obviously, number 1 is going to be the show that is my worst, which is my most hated. But before I start the countdown, I just want to quickly go over my disappointments. So these are not part of the countdown. These are shows that I don't think are the worst, and I don't hate them or anything like that. They just didn't live up to expectations, or they somehow upset me or disappointed me. First one is Marriage Story. I will admit that this felt like an extremely authentic story about divorce and the emotional roller coaster of going through a custody battle. Yes, this felt very real, and I know a lot of people like it for that reason. And in addition, the 2 leads in this were great, just super talented, and bounced off each other's energy really, really well. I think I walked into this with the wrong expectations. The movie and how much hype it garnered, it just fell flat to me. Marriage Story makes me feel bad for not loving it. It's one of those things where I feel like I should have loved it, and for some reason I didn't, because I'm able to recognize its strength. But there's just a lot of things about this that didn't vibe with me in the end, hence why it ended up being a disappointment. Next is Kim's Convenience Season 3. Kim's Convenience is a sitcom following a Korean family, and they own a convenience store. I would say this show started off really good. I enjoyed season 1 a lot, and my favorite character is the father. He's hilarious. I love him. This show started off good, but I think I'm starting to lose interest in it. I just don't know what happened between 1 and 3, but it's just not all there for me. Mainly, I feel I don't really care for Jung and Shannon, and I think that's one of the main things, right? And I think another issue I have with it is Janet. I feel her characterization is just all over the place to just fit whatever is happening in that episode at that time. And also she's become a really annoying character. So I will probably watch season 4, but I'm not jumping to do it, just because season 3 just disappointed me with how much I remember loving season 1. Next is Heathers. This movie I feel is a pop culture staple, right? So I decided to watch it and see how I feel. And obviously I didn't love it. It's about the popular girl trio, and they're all named Heather, and they're called the Heathers. And there's a fourth member, and her name is Veronica. And Veronica is not like the other three. And along with the new boy, bad boy, at school, they accidentally murder the main Heather, so the leader of the Heathers. So yes, like the plot is like super intriguing. The fashion is like really cool. The acting and the cast is obviously, you know, big names. But I would just say, as an insult to myself and not to this movie, I am probably too much of a modern day liberal millennial for this movie to work with me. I think a lot of things in this movie rubbed me the wrong way. A lot of things in this movie really triggered me. And honestly, I don't know if a movie like Heathers, exactly like Heathers, could be made today. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but for me, obviously, because I didn't love Heathers, it doesn't affect me. I don't hate it per se, but I just think with how much it's become such, like how it's become such an iconic, like cult like movie, I don't know, I just expected more and didn't get it. Next is The Mentalist Season 6. This is a show about a former psychic who teams up with the police department to capture the serial killer Red John because Red John murdered his family. This show started off fairly good, but then I think the main thing about The Mentalist is Red John. Like, that's the show's biggest intrigue. But once, like, the Red John plotline is done and over with, I felt like this show should have known to just slowly phase itself away. And also, I think with this final season, they really pushed the two main leads to be together. And I honestly don't feel like they actually work as, like, a couple. You know, they were great as, like, partners, and it should have stayed that way instead. I don't know, I feel like maybe other people don't feel that way, but I just think, like, with this final season, it just really shot itself in the foot. Obviously, I didn't like the last season, but I think as a show in general, I don't dislike it, because I do think it had a strong, like, start, up and down middle, but yeah, this last season just disappointed. The next title, please don't kill me, but it's the Korean drama Crash Landing on You. Let me try to say this Korean title. 사랑이 불시착. I know that everyone and their moms and their grandmas love this to bits and pieces. I think it's one of the most highest viewed K-drama, like, ever. It's like on that list. And yes, like, everyone loved it, right? And I decided that I was gonna watch it because everyone loved it, and this was gonna be the drama that would bring me back to the K-drama land. But I don't know, I guess, like, there was just too much hype by the time I started watching it. I don't think it lived up to the hype, honestly. This is about a rich South Korean heiress and beauty CEO. She somehow parachutes and lands in North Korea, and a romance between her and a North Korean soldier blossoms from there. And, like, you know, I get it, the whole, like, forbidden romance aspect. The two leads have amazing chemistry, and congrats to them, they're together in real life. I know that, like, that makes a lot of people happy. I'm happy for them. I mean, I don't know, I have a review for this. It's pretty incoherent, but my main thing is just, I think the hype was just so massive, and I don't think it lived up to the massive hype. Here we are at the meat of what we're gonna be talking about, is my worst TV and movies that I saw in 2020. The countdown. This like lists or ranking is a mixture of what I rated it then, but mainly it's how angry it makes me feel now knowing that I watched this and wasted my time with it. And that's, I think, the main like thing. So obviously it's super subjective. It's just whatever I feel like. Besides like one title, I think most of these shows are quite unknown, or movies as well are quite unknown, and people won't find them being on this list offensive. Let's start. At number 10 is The Princess Switch 2 Switched Again. What can I say about this that others haven't? Like, I want to start off by saying that I actually love like Christmas rom-coms, and I thought the first one was decent, and I have a video dedicated to like Christmas like rom-coms because it is something that I love, and I understand all the little like cringy, cheesy things that come with this type of movie, but I love them. So I was really, really upset at how much I didn't like this. Honestly, I felt like it kind of ruined the first one for me. And okay, so this second movie follows everyone from the first movie, and the first movie is about a duchess and an American baker who have an uncanny resemblance, and they decide to switch places, and from there they fall in love during Christmas time. The main issue I had with this was that this was ridiculous, but like not in a fun way. I don't think it added anything to the first movie, and it ended up being like kind of boring and really stupid. I feel like Vanessa Hudgens was really trying to show off her acting range, and honestly, I don't know if she succeeded. However, my boyfriend thought Fiona was a hoot, but I just couldn't get on board with how unbelievable the crazy antics were. Number 9 is Over the Moon. I know a lot of people were excited for this East Asian inspired animated film. I was looking forward to it too, but I don't think it was good. I think one thing it does well that I didn't appreciate is that it sprinkled little like East Asian culture and stuff for like audience to like catch, but it didn't really truly do its research. It was very like gimmicky, and the songs were just such generic pop songs. They weren't like memorable at all. I think it kind of butchered Tanga's story a bit. I do recognize that a lot of people in the community felt seen and related to this a lot, and I'm so happy that you were able to get that from this movie. I wanted that too, but sadly it didn't come for me. I also felt kind of negatively about how weak the plot was and how poor the family dynamic was, in addition to a lot of other stuff. Number 8 is The Devil All the Time. I read the book and loved it, okay? And if I thought the movie was going to do the book justice, delusions. If you saw the trailer, you'll like get what I'm trying to do. I'm terrible with accents. I can only do my own voice, but there was my bad attempt. Anyways, this is about a group of people living in small town USA who just can't seem to stop sinning. And this book, like I said, is great. It's super atmospheric, and the connections and characters are very like superbly written. However, the movie just ruins the book because it wasn't able to capture that essence correctly. People who didn't read the book and have watched the movie, tell me like what you thought of the movie as like someone who went into it without knowing how like the book was. The way it ruined the story from how I remembered it as the book I just couldn't like this movie. And another thing is that like this cast is super star-studded, and that's one of the reasons why I was like really hyped for it. And then you're gonna throw trash at me with such a good cast, like damn. Number 7 is The Kissing Booth 2: Going the Distance. All right, I acknowledge that there were issues with the first film, but I also will admit to the fact that I found it as like a fun guilty pleasure like watch, okay? And I was hoping that like movie 2 would do the same thing, except the sequel was just bad. Like just bad. Not like bad fun, bad good. It was just bad. The relationships with a capital S, meaning all the relationships in this, were just whack. Like really, really whack. And all the characters in this suck. I would say the new guy probably sucked the least, but all the characters in this were pretty awful as well. And for the new guy, oh my god, I feel so bad for him. He was such a wasted character. He was literally brought in to create a non-existent love triangle. Boo! If you're wondering, the first movie is about a boy and a girl who are best friends, and then the girl starts secretly dating the boy's older brother, and all hell breaks loose. Okay, I'm like exaggerating slightly. Number 6 is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I actually watched this movie early January of 2020. So this is one of the few movies that I got to see in theaters, in person. And for that to be one of the few experiences I had, how sad. I just remembered sitting there as the credits were rolling and like just turning to my friend and being like, that was such a disappointment. I'm so upset. I would say like one of the biggest issues, because I had multiple issues, but one of the biggest issues I had with this was that a lot of established characters were tossed aside. Like they just didn't matter. And then we got introduced to some new characters, but they were like super underdeveloped. So like, what, you know? I'm also not a fan of Raylo. I know a lot of people are, but honestly I don't even know like how that happened, what got that started. I don't see it, sadly, okay? I would say like with the first movie I was kind of like, Faye? Rin? I mean, they're not even like established enough to even have like a actual like couple name, I think, but I'm just assuming because I don't know. But yeah, but I thought like, oh, is this where it's headed? Like, are these two? And then it wasn't, and that was perfectly fine. But this third movie dredges it back up again, in the most unnecessary way. And then afterwards they came out and said, no, that wasn't the intention, it was actually something else. And I'm like, no, you tried. I was not buying that lame excuse. And I just think it's really sad because this movie didn't even know what it was doing. It was just making excuses up for itself. And sadly, like, the Rey in this wasn't good enough to carry a film of this weight. It was a lot of just bad writing and half-ass fan service. And I think the fan service is kind of what bit it in the ass. Number 5 is After the Ball. This was part of my sister and I's Cinderella retelling movie binge. The evil stepmother character in this gets Cinderella, aka Kate in this movie, kicked out of her father's fashion company. Now Kate has to gender bend, pretend to be a boy, to infiltrate the company and save it from her backstabbing stepmom and stepsisters. Oh my god, the acting in this was really, really stiff. Like I don't think the people in this movie even wanted to be in this movie. The jokes weren't funny. The main couple didn't have any chemistry. And lastly, for like a show to be centered around fashion, the clothing in this were like really lackluster. And honestly, it sucks to suck. Number 4 is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. I completed the book series this year and loved it. It's really good. It's this fun and fantastical adventure journey of sorts, and I highly recommend you check out the book series if you haven't. I went into this live action with very low expectations because I know that it's generally disliked in the book community. So I went into this with low expectations and I still came out hating it. I just feel so mad that it went and butchered the books. That's what it did. It butchered the books. It had such good source material and it still like went, and I don't know what it did, but it wanted to do its own thing but call it Percy Jackson when it wasn't. Like, I'm really mad about that. Like, how did they let this happen? Who let this happen? However, I am hopeful for the Disney Plus series. I'm excited for that to come out. Hopefully it's good. If you don't know, this is about Percy, who finds out that he is a demigod, and for his safety he is sent off to Camp Half-Bloods. Number 3, I know a lot of people are gonna dislike me for this, but it's Neon Genesis Evangelion and the end of Evangelion. This spot is for both the anime series and the finale movie. I know that this is a super popular and beloved anime classic. I know. I literally watched this as part of my quest to complete this list of classic animes. This was the first on the list and I haven't gone back and completed the list since. After finishing the anime and after the movie, I was pretty sure this was going to be number 1. Like, I knew it was going to be the worst for sure, because that was how mad this movie and anime made me. But I think that now that time has passed, it feels like I watched Evangelion last year, like the previous year. I'm not as livid anymore. Parts of me truly believe that my little brain just didn't understand the genius of Evangelion, and I can live with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't want to explain too much as to why I dislike this. I've written about it. I filmed a video review about it, which I will link down below if you're interested. It's very incoherent, but I'm just tired of talking about it, and I feel like I feel like this was in the past already, done and over with. I hated it, but I don't feel as strongly as it. Now we are heading into the final 2. Number 1 was really easy. Number 2, I totally forgot I even watched it. Number 2 is Cinderella and Enchanted Beginning. I discovered this movie as part of the Cinderella retelling movie binge that my sister and I partook in. This is the lowest rating I gave in 2020. I usually don't go under 1 star, which just shows how bad this was. The acting in this was really awkward. The guy who plays the prince character, he was so stiff and he looked like he didn't want to be there, which is absolutely hilarious, by the way. The production looked extremely underfunded. Like the scene where they're at a ball, it looks like a trashy college house party. It felt like a really poorly made student project, and I feel like I should be nicer, because what if this was a student project, Vivian? Then you're just being mean. But yeah, I mean, that boat has sailed, to be nice about this, because the plot was just extremely contrived and stupid, and I love Cinderella retellings. I feel like there's very little you can do to be really a bad Cinderella retelling, and this did it, you know? I was cringing and mad, just rolling my eyes while watching this. My sister would not let me skip to the end. So we sat through this entire shit from beginning to end, and honestly, we both have regrets, and take my word for it. don't watch this. Number one is A Fight to the Finish. This is a Hong Kong movie. Cantonese name is Ye Sao Tak Ging. After I finished this movie, I was like, this is it. Something has dethroned Evangelion from first place. But I totally forgot that Cinderella and Enchanted beginning happened in 2020. So what pushed A Fight to the Finish into first place is because thinking about it now still makes me mad. I watched this with my parents because my mom is kind of on this like kick of like watching whatever is free and available that is like a Cantonese movie on YouTube. Okay, so it was like a bonding thing with my parents, and all three of us took turns yelling at the monitor because this is literal trash. So let me tell you how this works, okay? So a member of the Special Forces walks into a hostage situation unarmed. His ex-wife decides to secretly follow him, also unarmed, and just a typical upper class housewife. Now she's doing this to prove that she's not a selfish person and that she still loves him. Idiotic, right? Adding to that, their teenage daughter, knowing that her parents are in danger, and because the girl that's in the hostage situation was supposed to be her but they mistook her friend, decides that she needs to go in there unarmed to assist as well. Fucking stupid, right? So this goes from like dumb, dumber, dumbest, and then it keeps continuing because there's more. Honestly, who greenlit this mess? Like who allowed this to happen? Later on, like in the movie, we get some crap about humanity and love thy neighbor stuff. Like what in the actual fuck? Oh, don't forget that they like threw in like a trigger happy cop too, and that just was upsetting as well. I told my mom to like find another movie for us to watch, but like my sister, once she like starts a movie, she just has to sit through it to the end. So we all suffered together, and now it's something the three of us can go back and like with hatred laugh at. So I sat through this dumpster fire for my mom, but I think sometimes it's also nice to just like get angry at an inanimate object and unleash your frustrations out on it. And I just want to like end this with A Fight to the Finish. You suck. Oh my god, this video was a lot longer than I thought. I didn't know I had so much to say. So let's see, recap. What did we talk about today? We talked about the 5 shows that I decided to no longer watch in 2020. There might be more, but like I said, I don't like actively list them, so I'm not sure. I talked about some of the shows and movies that disappointed me because I was expecting more from them, or I was expecting something different and it just didn't live up to my expectations or the massive hype that it got. And then finally, I counted down my top 10 worst movies or TV shows that I watched in 2020. I hope that no one was offended. That wasn't my intention. This is just purely for kicks and a good time. Filming this was actually like kind of fun for me because the US is like stressing me out right now. Like the US is in such deep fiery shit, and I don't know if we can recover or pull ourselves out from it. But I don't know, like filming this was just like a great like departure from reality for a little bit. I will try to post and finish up my year-end videos to the best of my abilities, just because I feel like mentally, like just the world has weighed really heavily on my heart, and my own country has as well. So we will get to those if we get to those. Outro time. Like, comment, subscribe. See you in my next video whenever that is. Bye!